the day of the eruption, October 24th of the 79 AD. And guys, a huge columns of ash started from the top of the Vesuvius and went up into the sky for about 35 kilometers up, more or less 22 miles up into the sky. These huge columns of ash entered into the stratosphere and created an enormous cloud that covered the sky and also the sun. It was morning, but became like a night, very, very dark. And after 5-6 hours, this huge cloud of ash started to fall down. First, like a light rain, but then really like a sort of tsunami, as an avalanche of ashes that buried and destroyed everything. Guys, remember that in just one day, Pompeii disappeared from the maps of the Roman time. Just I would like to give you a brief introduction about the history of Pompeii, because why Pompeii is so popular all over the world. Because Pompeii, it was a Roman city, but it's very famous because this city was completely buried by the eruption of the volcano Vesuvius in the 79 AD. So almost 2000 years ago, this city was completely buried by an average of ashes of between 20 and 24 feet of ashes. So in just one day, Pompeii really disappeared from the maps of the Roman time. So basically right now we're about 300 years that we're working in Pompeii, but in 300 years we have discovered only the 60% of the city. So there is another 40% still underneath the layers of the eruption of the 79 AD. It's on the opposite side instead that we can recognize another very famous building of the Roman time. You can see the arches. This is basically the external wall of the Amphitheater of Pompeii. Remember that the Romans were great engineers and they invented arches. But now let's move into the amphitheater using this tunnel that was used more than 2000 years ago by the gladiators and by the exotic animals to reach the arena. This was the place where more than 2000 years ago there were the fightings and the battles between gladiators against other gladiators or between gladiators against exotic animals. Just to give you a difference between these two sides and these two cities, you have to imagine that the seats of the Colosseum in Rome are about 80,000. The seats of the Amphitheater of Pompeii are only 20,000. Just to give you the idea about the difference of these two cities. I would like just to ideally walk with you on the main street of Pompeii. There is also the longest road of the city, called in Italian Via dell'Abbondanza, that we can translate in English as Abundance Road, Plenty Road. It was the road that connects the Eastern Gate to the western side. So basically, at the end of this road, in the west side, there is the main square, called in Latin Forum, that was really the heart of the public life of all the Roman cities. I would like also to tell you just something about this structure here. That's a Roman fountain. But as you can see, still nowadays we are using the same fountain for the same use, so for drinking water. But now, guys, I would like to show you another detail that sometimes we can see walking on the streets of Pompeii. So sometimes we can recognize these three high rocks on the roads. There are three rocks just here in front of us. But also, if you pay attention in the background, there are other three high stones. Now guys, what do you think? Why the Romans put these high rocks on their roads?
Maybe speed bumps? I didn't think speed bumps would be that old, you know? But...
for crossing the street, for
that is absolutely correct, basically. But
during the maybe.
Yeah. So the streets were used as an open-air sewer. So to try to stay clean, the Romans walk on the high sidewalk and they use these stepping stones exactly as a kind of modern zebra crossing for crossing the road from a side to the other one. Thermopolium, that could be translated in English as a Roman snack bar. And guys, this is how appeared a fast food of 2000 years ago. That them as a joke, we call this one the McDonald's of Romans. What is beautiful here is that all is original. So you can see the original marble decoration on the top of the counter, but also you can see these holes that are part of deep pots made in terracotta called the dolia in Latin, that was used to keep the warm or the hot food, like for example soups of vegetables, soups of cereals, a particular fish sauce out the Roman food. Another extraordinary thing that only in Pompeii you can see, because sometimes during the excavation were also found original carbonized food of 2000 years ago. Guys, at the moment we are looking at an original, a carbonized loaf of bread that we found during the excavation in a bakery inside an oven. So basically, guys, this is a piece of bread carbonized of the day of the eruption. But not only the bread, we have found also other carbonized food in Pompeii. Just in this other picture inside this pot, you can recognize some carbonized olives. Now let's move to see the main square. Let's move into the main square, the forum, called in Latin forum, that was really the heart of the public life of all the Roman cities. So you have to imagine that here every day there was the market with the sailors that came from different areas of the Mediterranean Sea and merchants that came from different villages around the Vesuvius. And they sold here their food, their stuff, their goods in this square. So this was really the marketplace of Pompeii, the most important public area of the city. But now I would like just to stop the video here, because for me this is one of the best views of Pompeii, where we can recognize a part of the ruins of the buildings that surrounding the main square, but in particular in the background we can recognize the shape of the volcano Vesuvius. That was really the volcano that buried and destroyed the city in the 79 AD. And this is the reason of why in Pompeii we can see scenes like this.
Ooh, okay. So those are plasters?
Exact. The mold only remains. So basically we put in the cavities where there were the bodies, and this is what remains. So there are the plaster casts of the bodies of the victims. In that case you can see 13 plaster casts of victims, people that were found all together in this area. Why? Because these people tried to escape from Pompeii, but they were not in time, and they died in this garden that now we call the Garden of Fugitives.